Right, let's Q&A. Well, hello. I hope you had a lovely weekend. Last week I asked you all to send me some questions so we could do a Q&A. And so I'm sitting here in my garden and we're just going to crack on with it. I've got my hat here. All the questions are inside. Let's try and get through as many as we can. First one comes from Mrs. D at last. Who is your favourite author? That's quite an easy question, actually. My favourite author is Paul Theroux, father of TV's Louis Theroux. I love every book I've read of his. I've read pretty much all of them. I'm probably 3 or 4 short. Just think he's a brilliant writer, accessible but fascinating. Great use of language. I love his travel books as much as I love his novels. Paul Theroux. Okay, next question comes from Oh So Sweet DD, a loyal, long-time subscriber. Thank you very much for your question. What is the country you have never been to but really want to visit and why? I would say that is a very tricky question. I'd love to go to Vietnam for the food. I've heard it's amazing. I would love to go to Norway and go on the fjords in Norway because I grew up reading a lot of Roald Dahl and the fjords in Norway feel quite magical to me because of that. But I think if I was going to pick one country, it would be Uruguay. I just read quite a bit about Uruguay a year or 2 ago. It just seems like a really lovely place with a beautiful climate. Never gets too cold, never gets too hot. It's got lovely seasides. Yeah, Uruguay. And by visit, I mean move there. Next up is Roy Lake. Thanks, Roy. What's your favourite episode of Columbo? I knew this was coming up, so I actually wore my favourite Columbo t-shirt here, which I've got from Redbubble. They're not paying me for that endorsement. They should do, but they're not. Favourite episode? I mean, every episode with George Hamilton in is great. I particularly like the episodes that they did with John Cassavetes. I love the fact that Peter Falk and John Cassavetes were making these great independent movies in the 70s together, and then they'd go and work together on, you know, real mass market beautiful Columbo episodes, but my favourite has to be the Johnny Cash episode. I just think it's really good, it's really well plotted, it's really interesting, it's full of tension. Johnny Cash is great in it. Yeah, definitely Johnny Cash ep is my favourite Columbo episode. Okay, next up, this comes from the Great Britain. I've mentioned once or twice that my wife is Romanian, and he says, what's your favourite thing about being married to a Romanian? It's a personal question, Great Britain. What I will say is this. Romanians say to men, when they're young, they should marry a Hungarian for the sex. When you're middle-aged, you should marry an Italian for the cooking. And when you're old, you should marry a Romanian because they give you incredible funerals. So I don't think I found the best thing about being married to a Romanian yet, because what it is going to be is the great funeral that I get at the end of it. Jammy Jimbob 42. He was watching last week and saw the water pistol fights having with my son at the beginning, and he said, it doesn't look like it's the first time I've handled a weapon. Question, any previous firearms experience? Absolutely not. Kate Fromings, the author. Kate, thank you very much for your question. And she says, this has caused some debate on her Facebook feed. When you make a jam sandwich, do you use butter or a spread, or just put the jam on the bread? Said, I guess the first question should be, do you eat jam sandwiches occasionally? I can't remember the last time I ate a jam sandwich, probably when I was a child. I do like jam, I just don't eat very much of it. Feels like jam's a bit of a treat, homemade jam. But if I was going to make a jam sandwich, it would absolutely have some sort of spread on it first. Not if it was a croissant, then it would be straight on, but a bread jam sandwich, yes. Obviously with scones, cream, no butter. hopefully that's cleared that up for you, Kate. Okay, Jack Ran. I think we had a question a bit like this last time we did a Q&A last year. My question is, do you watch any other YouTubers? I do. Obviously, I watch Robbie Knox to get tips on how to be a massive influencer. I also like Jack Mate. I watch most of his, but I end up just thinking, oh God, he's just so light years ahead of what I can do. It's sort of depressing. It's incredible videos he puts together. I also really like Michael Spicer, who is the guy in the room next door. I think his videos, his sort of politics videos are great. Really love watching them. Thanks. Next question comes from Lewis. Have you worked on any famous TV shows? Yes, I suppose the most famous ones I've done are the Frank Skinner Show, his chat show, that was from that was 1999, Harry Hill's TV Burp, Harry Hill's sketch show, Fantasy Football for older viewers. I did the Euro 2004 one, that was the one that killed that brand off. Al Murray's Happy Hour, used to get about 3 million viewers for that. I suppose most recently, the most famous one I've done has to be Taskmaster, which is the most popular show on Dave, although it's just moving to Channel 4, new series, hopefully, COVID permitting, coming out soon. Beth Majors next, along similar lines. What's your favourite TV show at the moment? Well, definitely my favourite, although I've just finished watching the series, is Better Call Saul, the spin-off to Breaking Bad. Absolutely love that show. Might be my favourite show ever. It's a brilliant, brilliant TV show, and yeah, the next series, which is going to be the last one, is going to be incredible. We finally see the full metamorphosis of Jimmy McGill turning into Saul Goodman as we knew him from Breaking Bad. Callum, he sent in a load of questions. He says, feel free to use as little or as many as you desire. I'm going to try and do all of them, Callum. We're just going to race through them. Ever been to Dundee? Yes, I have. Got a friend whose parents live in a castle in Dundee, and we went up there to pitch a business idea to DC Thompson. We went up there, saw Dundee. Favourite footballer as a child versus now? My favourite footballer as a child... well, that's a difficult question. For my local team, Maidstone United, it was Billy Hughes. On a more national level with Queen's Park Rangers, it was probably Gary Bannister. But actually, I really loved Gary Lineker. He was my real hero when I was growing up. Now, my favourite current player, I would say, is Bere Eze at QPR. I think he's amazing. I love Ebbs. Favourite goal you've seen in person? That's really easy. I was there for Trevor Sinclair's overhead kick against Barnsley for QPR in the mid-90s, 1997 I think it was. The most amazing goals ever been scored in the history of the world, and I was there, so that was lucky. Favourite condiment? Mustard. Opinions on cheese omelettes? Oh, no, on cheeselets. I don't know what cheeselets are. Most expensive purchase that you regret? I don't know the answer to that question. Best biscuit for dunking? Rich tea. Ever applied to be on a TV game show? No, I haven't. Favourite garden tool? A trowel. Okay, Alex Rogan says, what do you think the fairest solution to finishing the football seasons is, and what do you think will happen in the English leagues? Well, the fairest solution to finishing the football season is to find a way of Leeds not getting promoted and QPR to get promoted instead. I mean, we scored a lot of goals, so I think we deserve that. That'd be the fairest way. I think what they'll actually do is... I think the Premier League will get some behind closed doors games going in July, and I think the Championship will try and do something similar. Okay, Jesse, MD, says, which part of England do you live in, and what is some of the history of the area? I live in southeast London, and I don't know a great deal about the history of this area. What I will say is that there's some sort of allotments back there, and apparently in the old days some of these houses were kind of owned by richer people, and they were tennis courts, and sort of servants and stuff lived around in smaller places behind there. I think that's right. PM says, Which Doctor Who do you think is the best? Hashtag controversial. Even more controversial than that, PM. I don't really care. I don't watch Doctor Who. I haven't watched Doctor Who since I was a child. I haven't seen Christopher Eccleston or David Tennant or anybody playing Doctor Who. I just don't really watch Doctor Who. But if you really want me to give an answer, when I think of Doctor Who is the first Doctor Who that comes into my head? It's undoubtedly Peter Davison. And final question comes from Lord Mellis. Thank you, your lordship. Thank you for being such a loyal subscriber. I do really appreciate it. He says, Dan, what stresses you out? The answer to that is pretty much everything. Money, the world ending, COVID, worrying about my son, environmental catastrophe, work, pretty much everything. QPR, worrying about QPR, that stresses me out. I lie awake at night worrying about QPR. Diet. Am I eating enough protein? Am I eating too much sugar? Noise stresses me. The noise of the parakeets when we're out. That's stressful. Yeah. The future of the rainforest. Global fish stocks. Donald Trump. Whether I'm going to go bald and how awful that is going to look when my hair is gone. Insects. The insect population. Plastic waste. Nuclear war. Oil spills. Are there going to be enough bees left in the world to pollinate our crops? Does that mean if there aren't, we're all going to starve to death? A global shortage of sand. That stresses me out. You might not think there's a global shortage. There is. Excessive screen time. Being attacked by a dingo. Stress about that. Stress about insects a lot. Think about insects. That keeps me awake at night. Alien invasion. The future of Test cricket. That really worries me. All the stuff on my work, on my laptop being wiped. What's going to happen when Better Call Saul finishes? What will replace that? I think that's everything that I get stressed about. Oh, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. That's it. Yep.